Hello, everyone. We are back for another week, and we seemingly can't stop doing something. Teddy, I normally ask you what that is, but we have a special guest. It is the founding father of this podcast. Hey, what can't we stop doing?
We can't stop snapping.
Oh, my God.
Michael,
we did it.
Blue Spruce, founder of the podcast, is back. Daddy is home. I'm incredibly excited for this show.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. I'm super excited. Appreciate your guys' flexibility with finding a time that worked for all of us, and excited to talk some Marvel Snap today.
Oh, man. So this is a guest appearance. Michael's not taking up the mantle of host yet, but we are always happy to have him back on. How has the break been for you, Michael?
It's been good. Life's been really busy, prepping for another child, and honestly, probably heading to the hospital in like 2 or 3 hours from now is what it's looking like. So fun for that. Yeah. But work's been busy, but work's been good. I've still been playing Marvel Snap every day, so I haven't slowed down there. I've kept up Infinite every season.
Yes, the streak is
and I've been playing some more board games. I've been maybe stress buying board games more than I should, and have to explain to the wife, well, it makes sense to buy this one because of this reason,
Yes,
so
that's me. That is me. At the end, if we have time, we're gonna have to do some board game stories. But how has your experience been as just playing Snap for this season rather than content creator? What's that been like for you this last season?
It's been good. I think I've just tried to look at what everybody else is doing, and I've been probably consuming more content than I was before, right? And so I've been watching some more streams. Watching the competition that Second Dinner did recently, that was great to watch. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And like I said, I've focused on kind of trying to get Infinite. I got it, I feel like, a week and a half in this time. And so this has been a 5-week season. So I'm just like, is the season rolling over yet? Is this, I've been kind of ready for that. But no, it's been good. I bought some cards, other cards I haven't.
I was going to ask, which of the new cards did you pick up this month?
I got, what's his face? Legion. Yeah. But I think that was like a FOMO purchase. And I'm not saying he's not good. I just think I wasn't it's not necessarily my style. Maybe it is.
I understand.
But then I was like, but he seems really good and everybody's playing him, so I probably should just get him, right? And I picked up, who else is this season? I didn't pick up Echo.
Yeah.
Didn't pick up Jean Grey.
Yep. And then just recently Mirage.
And I didn't pick up Mirage, so I think Legion's the only one that I picked up. I've bought other cards, or I've tried to open them from season the Spotlight Reserves, right? So I've opened 1 or 2 cards from that I've targeted, and I got them both on my first try.
That's so good. That's so good.
So I'm sitting good. I've got five right now, just sitting waiting for targeting another week. So
have you accidentally opened a Spotlight Cache yet?
No, but I've read your tweets when you have, and I feel bad for you.
Hold to confirm, please.
They're adding it. They're adding it. They
did say they would. Yeah, they said they would add it. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that should have been implemented in the beginning, but they are always iterating.
I got a cool Darkhawk variant, but I already have the 3 times value one, so why would I ever use anything else?
Well, this one's 10x.
That variant value could go up so much if they put 3x value on the card. Dude, can you imagine a re-release of the variant with that? Like they did the signed autograph from Nick Fury.
Give it to me. I bought it. Yeah, I was the shill. Give it to me.
Just update that variant to have that in the corner stripe the way it was advertised. Oh,
beautiful.
So they've embraced it. The official Discord has an emote, guys, with the 3x value. Like Second Dinner is aware. They love it. They love it.
They tend to embrace what people see negatively. So hopefully that's a good thing always. I think they wait until the anger has passed or the frustration has passed a little bit before they do that, which is good because if they pop that emoji on the next day, people probably wouldn't have taken it super well.
Exactly. All right, so we have the Legion pickup. The Legion, maybe FOMO, not your style. Brad, what's your opinion on the cards we got this month? Because I think it was the Series 4 releases, I think, blew away the Series 5 releases. And we had things kind of flipped on their head of where a lot of the community hype was. Now that we've had this season play out, How are you feeling on these new cards?
I think they're all really good. Echo, I think, will have her chance to really shine in particular metas.
She's
Echo's
already
one of those
nice
cards
to crimp Thanos if Thanos sticks around.
Yes, but Echo's similar in the same way that like Iceman is, and like cards like that, where you don't see the impact necessarily, because there could be a card in your opponent's hand with they were going to go with plan A with like a Dark Hawk or like something that's ongoing or like a stone or whatever, and because Echo's in a certain location, they pivot to a different idea to kind of do something else, and then you never see like the fruits of your labor, right, of playing Echo, but. So that's it. So people that say, "Oh, she's bad" or whatever, you can't really know like the actual effect that she had. But she's gonna be clearly the worst one just because she's so niche, similar to like Ghost and stuff.
I think that's fair. I was all aboard the Jean Grey hype train on the meta defining impact.
Yep.
Without derailing the conversation on why I think that she's still a great card, it turns out releasing into the bounce meta that then rolled into the Thanos meta was not good for her having a big impact
Except
herself.
for the Thanos decks themselves.
They enjoy using her, but even then it feels like they can do fine without, like, I haven't seen broad use of her. I think we're on the same page, Brad, than you and me in liking her, but broad scale adaptation, it has been legions everywhere.
I saw Jean Grey a lot that first maybe 2 or 3 days after she released. I mean, maybe even that week, but now it's once a day. You know, I'm not seeing a lot of Jean Grey play.
Like, oh wow!
But Legion, I'm seeing one in every 4 or 5 matches at least, right?
Yes.
Well, one was overhyped. I think people are so quick to use that word as a negative, because I agree with you, Teddy. Jean Grey's a good card. She's still very good, and she, just like Echo, will have her chance to really shine. And there have been plenty of times where, like, I've stolen an opponent's Jean Grey with Mirage, and that 3/5, forcing them to play over there, and then I can be more flexible with my deck has been really cool. But it's just one of those things where overall this entire month, you have a bunch of these cards that are kind of niche in terms of scale. It goes like Echo, then Jean Grey, then Mirage, and then Legion being the most applicable of them, because what's the one thing that's the consistent or the constant in every snap game? It's the locations. So being, especially with Magic being in a lot of decks, to be able to go on 6, Legion and something, which, by the way, I've been doing a Black Bolt stature list. I actually sent it to you guys in the chat, which I'll put up in the post or whatever. This is a list that I'm currently 8-1 with in Conquest. I did an Infinite run today, lost in Game 3. On my Infinite run, that was my only loss with this deck so far in Conquest, to a Hela player that got double Hela off of the raft, which was amazing.
Man.
But the line of being able to go Black Bolt on 5 and then Legion Stature on 6, especially when there's a Limbo in play, which makes me wonder if I should put Magic in this deck just so I can actually have that manipulation myself. Of like that gotcha moment, but I think it's been fantastic. This has been really cool. Mirage is awesome. Legion's awesome. I love these cards. I love the info that they provide. And if you didn't pick them up, that's fine. It's just everyone has their own play style. I just think it's hard. I would be hard pressed to like say or dissuade someone from like not getting them if they had any inquiry.
I think with Legion, I mean, I've played against Legion a ton, right? It's the one I've seen the most this season, but I still feel like it's one of those cards that, like, when I'm on turn 6 and I'm like, okay, what could they do, right? I'm like, where should I play? What should I do? Somehow I'm still not getting Legion in my head, right? It's the one that I'm like, okay, how many times do I have to lose before I'm like, okay, think about the Legion play. How does that affect me? What should I do, right? And so there's been a couple other cards in the past that have done that, where it takes some time for me to get used to it, right, and to kind of have that expectation. Like, this is forever ago, right, but it used to always be for me like Doctor Doom. I never thought of Doctor Doom because I'm thinking of, okay, what are they going to do at this one location, not thinking they're going to spread out the power. This is 6-9 months ago, whatever.
Or before that, the leader play.
Yeah, the leader play, right? But eventually you're like, I've lost enough times to this. Now this is what I'm thinking of every time, and so I'm hopefully that's coming for me soon with Legion, because man, it feels bad when you're on the opposing side of what Brad described.
You gotta play Kang.
Right? Yeah. There you go.
Which, okay, genuinely speaking, I want to say this real quick. Kang is way better than I gave him credit for before. Like, I thought he was fine when he first came out, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. Conquest, as I've actually gotten to use him a lot more in Conquest in general, the ability to hide information from your opponent and then hold on to Kang, don't really use him for most of the games, and then at that perfect time do the Kang snap and then watch them retreat just for those extra free couple of cubes before they even know you have Kang has won me so many games. It's been very valuable. And then when the Kang gets to drop, I know if I need to dip out, or if let's say it's a Legion mirror match and my opponent's trying to go for like a Sokovia Legion, which actually this happened yesterday. They played Legion on Sokovia when I Kanged, and I watched all the discards happen. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I have priority, so I'm going to play my Legion and put it on Wakanda and say, we're not doing that. We're not doing that stuff. You can get out of here with that.
It's so weird, because then your Kang normally hides your hand, but then the Sokovia still shows them what was in your hand, and then you play it around, but I guess they don't know if you're actually going to get it to the board or not.
You want to know what's really funny? You know what I discarded on the 2 Sokovias that came up?
Oh, what?
Their Legion that I took with White Queen and my Legion.
Oh, perfect.
Feels good.
Clutch, baby.
I love that.
That's awesome.
No, I think that you're onto some deck brewing, a little bit of magic, but a little bit of insanity at the same time. It's super meta. It's a great meta read in that Adam Warlock and then the Kang thin your deck, and with everything being Hawks and Rocks, thinning the deck, they can watch their Hawk that they invested in suddenly just be 4 power, and that's like so demoralizing to the opponent. But I also feel like this deck just gets gassed out. I don't know. I was playing around with it a little bit today, and it was not doing very well for me.
It's really weird to play. It took me a few games to like. Basically, I played like 2 different renditions of this list, with like discard stuff and like more like all in on info with like Cable and like Mantis stuff. I went way too far into it and then slowly peeled back as I tried to identify what was good.
Yep.
You know what's been the dark horse for this deck? Turn 1 Hawkeye, turn 2 Adam Warlock has been the most insane play.
Yeah,
I've been
the quick card
blown
draw
away
is great.
by it. Yeah,
it's really nice.
That's awesome.
I recommend trying the deck if you have the cards. If you were asking me different like things, if you don't have some of the cards like Mirage or Kang or like whatever, you can easily replace them. Mirage can be Cable, for example, which we'll talk about in a few moments for his change. And then Kang can be just like, I don't know, another good 5-drop. Like you don't have to overthink it.
Yeah, something mid-range, something just high value. Even like lower tempo, because you get the extra draw off of the Adam Warlock to be able to double in there with like a heck, any of the 2 5s, right? Something to drop down. So yeah, we touched on Cable. We've got an update to Cable. But so Brad, just to cap off this last season in review, Michael bought 1 card. It was Legion. Are you going to try and sell him anything else, or do you say that you made the right choice in getting Legion and nothing else?
Ooh.
Well, I mean, he's already selling me on Mirage because I'm looking at this list. I'm like, I kind of want to try this out, and that's the only thing I'm missing.
Yeah, Mirage is the one I would say more so than any other ones. Jean Grey's okay, Echo's whatever. But Mirage I think has been very good, especially in the Thanos meta. I love taking their like Soul Stone or their Power Stone and be like, I have a 1/3, I have a 1/5 kind of thing going on. And just again the info itself that she provides, even if I don't play the card that I get, has been very good. So I think Mirage is pretty sick.
Okay. I might have to open up the app while we're recording here.
There we go.
We'll see what happens.
She's in the cache now. You have a 100% record on cracking them open first try.
Well, to be honest, I opened up one this week. I was like, I'll see if I get her right, and I got the Thanos variant, which is good. I'm like, okay, this is a pretty good variant. I don't feel bad, but I have 5, so it's like even if I could open one more in the next 45 minutes, and just one more shot.
There we go. All right, if you do, you're gonna have to tell us what you pull open.
Yeah, we'll see.
Or show the camera.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we should. Okay, so we have some changes. We have a big patch that has been announced with some interesting changes in the sense of like quality of life. We've kind of touched on this a little bit, and then some massive changes. The first one we want to go over is going to be Cable. It's one we alluded to a few moments ago. The big problem that Cable has been approached with over the last few weeks since the Chavez change a while back, maybe a month ago, was the fact that Cable always would grab Chavez because she was forcibly stuck in the bottom of the deck. And if you play against an opponent that plays a Chavez deck, you're essentially just doing the same thing that Chavez already did, and except now you're giving them essentially one extra draw that won't be Chavez and kind of helping them in a way. So that kind of sucks and feels bad. So a very simple change. Cable's the exact same thing, except instead of grabbing the bottom, he grabs the top. That I have a question, though, for you. This is a great change, by the way. I love this. What do we do about Mantis?
Mantis draws off the top, right?
Yeah, but
Also.
you have to snipe.
Line up.
Yeah.
And she's a 1/2, right?
And Cable's a 2. I know Cable's a 2/2, so it's a lower power and it's a guarantee hit. But I feel like Mantis is just so. Why would you?
I don't know, Brad. I was already going to be like, what do we do with Cable? Cable, this is not enough, man. Mirage is just better. Mirage is drawing a cheap card from their hand,
I agree.
and then it's more power.
No, here's the thing. I think Cable has a genuine chance of being played now because you steal the card. It's not a copy. You take it. So if you, especially in Conquest, when you take their Shang-Chi or you take like their tech card that you know you can overcome, and you're like, they don't know that I have this, and you have the ability to snap. I know you're.
Teddy. I was gonna say Teddy doesn't look convinced. I don't know.
I saw Mirage release, and I was like, without Cable getting buffed in some way, I'm never playing Cable again.
His rate's still going to be low. I will concede that. But I think in Conquest you might see him tick up a little bit because the value of stealing people. Because before the argument was, even before the Chavez thing, you're taking the card they're never going to see anyway. So yes, you even if you take the Shang-Chi, right, you're taking that and you know that they don't have it. They don't know they're not going to draw it, but they'll never see it in the first place. But now I know it's a change of mentality more so than anything, but taking something from the top and denying them that draw, especially when it's something that's a key card that they were hoping on, it's I think it feels more impactful to me, like because you're straight up denying a draw now. Like,
I think the interesting thing is that like they don't know which card you've drawn, right?
Of course.
And so like there's that mind game of like they're hoping, like you say, to draw the Shang-Chi, but you have it in your hand, right?
Yeah.
And they don't know that, so it's like they're having to play around you potentially having any, one of 3 cards by the end of the game, right? Or so, like, and they have to play around that, right? So I think that's interesting.
No, it's very interesting. It's so competitive to get, as there's more and more 1 cost and more 2 costs, especially for like the plug and play. What do you want to rock? When you're up against Spider-Ham at a 2/2 and Mirage at a 2/2, do I also fit in Cable? Am I replacing one of those with Cable? And I feel like I just go back to those other guys. Like the competition's very stiff, but you're right. I mean, the fact that you're stealing and then you have the extra information, the opponent doesn't know they're running a broken combo, and you do, and you can really play that to the hilt. If you get those off, it's going to be very impactful.
Yeah.
But we'll see if he actually sees any play beyond that. Anyway, we got another one that's going to be probably a bit more impactful than Cable, even though the change is far less nuanced or interesting, I suppose. It's one that they teased. It's Magic. So they said in the previous OTA that they are going to change her for the next patch, which is going to make it so that the on reveal on turn 6 does not trigger, but you can play her on turn 6, which I think gives her a slight bump in stock for serverless. We've seen Magic with the new Absorbing Man and Surferless a bit now, because now on turn 7 you can go Surfer into Absorbing Man, which the 4/5 is a lot more impactful than the 4/3 was before.
It's so good. It's so punchy. I love it.
Which now Magic doesn't have as much of a downside, where if you have nothing better, which is not going to be very often in a Surferless with cards like Maximus, the new card Daken coming out soon, things like that. If you really need to, and you got to play Magic on turn 6 just to get that extra couple of power, you can.
Yeah.
Congrats.
I played Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I played a decent amount of Surfer Negative over the last few weeks, and man, it's one of those times, right? It's the recency bias. I know that the stats aren't really against me, the game's not against me, but I'm like, every time on turn 6, I draw Magic, and she's inverted, and I can't play her, and I'm like, this potentially could win me the game. Just like if I could play her down and then do Surfer to get some extra stats somewhere, like it could make an impact. And it's just like, so this for me is great, right? I think it'll definitely help in that situation if that's just your worst case scenario drawing her. on turn 6, you can at least do something, right?
Yeah, I think over the course of a full conquest, either gold or infinite, you're going to have at least one game where you take advantage of this change. And so I think it's a very nice flexibility change. I mean, heck, people wanted this change back when she was the 5/3 and unplayed. So I love seeing this come through. And then, yeah, when you get the buffs on the Surfer coming through, or if she's inverted, it's great. Negative Surfer, loving it. Negative Surfer, not necessarily loving the next change, but negative still, his stocks are going up, right, Brad?
Yeah, definitely, because there's one change that people have been wanting for quite a bit, because there's a weird interaction. Have you ever noticed that you have, Iron Man in your hand, right? Or let's say you have Death in hand, or more importantly, the new Living Tribunal, and then the peak shows up, and suddenly your Iron Man's a 5/0, or an 05. That makes sense. Yeah, cool. But your Living Tribunal becomes a 6/6, right? Your Death becomes a 6/8, right?
Yep.
Is that how it works?
Yep.
So
the Death one is actually really funny because it's like still good in that it got discounted. I love that one.
Yeah.
But then if you were to do anything with Mr. Negative and play it that way, unfortunately, it doesn't swap it evenly. It goes ahead and actually just completely swaps it around and makes your Living Tribunal a 9/6 and your Death an 8/6, I think, actually, is how that would work. So now they're making that work consistently, and Mr. Negative does the same thing. Which does beg the question, Living Tribunal Negative being actually kind of cracked, maybe, with the flipped Iron Man? You can play Onslaught and be a 6/6?
It's definitely all on the flipped Iron Man, but I don't love it because like you're shaving off power from the Living Tribunal, which is an extra 3, and then you're shaving off power potentially from Onslaught as well. So it's like 4 power that you're missing, and then you're getting 5 power back from the Iron Man. So I don't know
if you're getting Iron Man and Mystique, you're getting an extra 8 power, where you're losing 4 power overall. So you're gaining 4.
If you have Mystique and Iron Man, then it's double twice, right? So it's
you want Mystique on the Onslaught.
Well, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And that goes ham. Like that's.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah.
I don't know if you've convinced me there yet. I think this is a good change overall. This feels like stuff in my day job, right? Where people are like, why does the software do this here? And why does it do this here? I'm like, well, we didn't really think about it. We just decided to do it 2 different ways. And so, let's make those the same.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the real hit for this is Jane Foster, who's commonly being run in negative zeros, which is now the less popular negative, inexplicably, the rise of Surfer and Magic. But now, if you run Jane and you get her inverted, she's still going to be playable on turn 6. You need to be running Magic. And so even if you hit like Magic in the mid-game, negative super late, you get the Jane, she's inverted, you play her on the final turn, then your turn 7 can still be your power vomit of these massive cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, that alone right there is enough to be a very impactful change. To actually justify running Jane Foster in your negative list, where before people were kind of on the fence of like, well, if she gets flipped, she's awful. But if she doesn't, then, I win. But then there's the other thing of, real quick, the reason I don't like Jane Foster in negative lists is because your opponents should just leave if they see Foster resolve.
Yes.
9 times out of 10, they do leave.
Yes.
I don't think the one time that you get the 8-cuber is worth it for me to run it. I don't know. It feels like overall just like they're gone. It's a 2-cuber.
I feel like in ranked, you might be able to smack people around a little more. But yeah, I think in especially more competitive Conquest, people are so cagey anyway, it's not going to make you money.
Yeah, because they'll snap earlier, right, if they've got the hand, right? And they'll snap, and then maybe you'll stay in because you don't know what's going on. But as soon as you see that come down to 5, it's like, well, yeah, they got my 2 cubes, so.
Or if they do stay in, they probably have Wave or Sandman, unbeknownst to you.
Or they're just really dumb. I think they're mostly just really dumb. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Brad has a low opinion of the community.
Well,
but not you guys, you listeners, you are brilliant.
I definitely, for me, there's like I play worse the more tired I am. So sometimes if I'm just like out of it, tired, I'm like,
that tweet.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm just gonna stay in, we'll see what happens, and then I'm that loser that gives you the 8 cubes. So I mean, I've done that before.
Yeah, sometimes you're just like, I just need this one more goddamn win. That's all I need. I'm trying to get this challenge, and I just, especially the ones where it's like you have to win with like under 10 power, and I'm like, I'm just playing Professor X. Please don't play a card here.
Yep,
Please don't play a card here.
telepathy
man.
to
They
the
do.
opponent, and they play a card there, and then you're like, all right.
Well, one more
Now-
time.
You
We've
ruined my
got-
game plan.
Yeah. Even more for Surfer Toys is a rogue adjustment. This one is super minor. Old was 3-2. She would steal the ongoing ability. She still does this. But now she will technically also trigger an on-reveal if the copied card had both ongoing and on-reveal. The only card this impacts right now is Electro, so I think this is just future-proofing rogue.
There's 2 in the game. Soulstone's the other one. You have to remember.
Oh,
There's 2
fair,
in the
fair.
game.
So if you... honestly, roguing Soulstone is fine. I was doing that already.
Yeah.
Now you get a card draw alongside. So maybe that's
Oh,
actually
that's-
more common.
That's actually
occurrence.
really, really good. I mean, again, it's like you have to have the card, they have to have the
That's
card on the board,
insane. Right? Are you hearing yourself say that, Michael? Playing Rogue on a 1-cost card is actually really good.
but yeah, okay,
That's
it's not
how
that
crazy-
good.
No, it is.
Wow,
That's the thing. That's
well,
how
now that
crazy
you're
Soul-
saying it, now I'm convincing myself it's not. I'm like,
But that's
yeah.
how crazy Soulstone is, right? That's
Yeah,
what
that's-
the Infinity Stone package. In any other deck, just
Soulstone's
being
very
able to
good.
get the Soulstone
Yeah.
effect, you're like, yes, please. I would pay 3 to be able to flip that on the opponent.
That's fair.
It's fun. That's why Thanos is king, and he'll stay there. We'll see
Oh,
if he gets
man.
hurt here with the Spider-Man change. Brad, do you want to hit on Evolve the Thing first, and then we do Spider-Man at the
Yeah,
end?
let's take the veggies before the dessert. So Evolve the Thing. His old one is just, you play him on a lane, your opponent has 1 card on the other side, and then he's going to smack them around 3 times
We
and
will
get that
bury
guaranteed 4-9, which I've been shouting this from the rooftops. I thought he was the best card in High Evo for the longest time that was underplayed because I'm like, it's a guaranteed 4-9. That's insane. Why would you
Yeah.
play Chavez on 6 when you can play the same thing pretty much essentially and then have energy left over to float for Sunspot and Misty Knight? It's so crazy. But now we have both, I would say, a nerf and a buff. The nerf aspect of this is the fact that it afflicts 3 random enemy cards here with -1 power. So rather than being able to hit a single card 3 times, its floor is 1 card, hit it once, now it's a 4-7 essentially. Where its ceiling now would be that 4-9 swing like we are accustomed to. That's the nerf.
So
The
to be very
buff-
clear, the random card cannot be chosen multiple times. It has to be
Yes.
3 different cards to get the full value.
Yep.
Exactly. The buff aspect of this, though, makes Abomination better in these decks
Yes.
because Abomination cares about each card that's hit. When you
That's a very
hit the
good
higher
point.
part of it, sometimes you have those weird games where you play the thing on a stacked lane and you hit the same card all 3 times.
Yeah.
And you're like, your A-bomb's like, oh.
And then it's even
okay.
worse. You hit like Dracula.
Yeah. Oh, I hated that.
Yeah. -3 Dracula. Joke's on you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love. Yeah. It was great
So-
playing discard into that deck. But yeah, so
It's a good
Go ahead.
change. I like it
Yeah.
a lot. I think it's really nice. It's one that is not actually really that big of a nerf, I would say. It just makes it so it's not just a blanket slam it down, brain dead play on turn 6 or turn 4, and just guarantee a 4-9. I think that was too good, but this gives a bit more nuance to the card and a deck that you want to float energy anyway. So maybe playing on 4 isn't always the best thing you want to be doing, regardless.
Yeah.
oh man, I remember last week we were recording. Highest win rate card was A-Bomb. And this making him even better. It's so good. All right, it's changed around a little bit over the last week with a little surge in Sauron and Stature, but A-Bomb still in the top 4 with Thing right behind him, rounding out the top 5 on Snap.fan. Of course, the stats, they lie a little bit, but the fact that he's just up there at the very top shows that this is a very capable high Evo deck.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're going to be seeing more of that over the next couple of weeks.
Funny you mentioned Stature. Did you know what I found out today? That Stature stays at 1 when Dream Dimension comes up.
Yes. She used to be able to fight through Wave as well, but then they
Yeah.
altered that, so...
So Dream
Miles
Dimension
will do it
doesn't
too.
increase her to a 2 when she's 1. is what
No,
you're
yeah,
saying.
she stays at 1, definitively.
So that supersedes the locations ability.
Yeah, so Stature and Miles used to have
Mi-
the highest priority, but now they're just... Wave has the highest priority, and Stature and Miles are behind Wave.
Okay.
I think it's cool. I like it.
Yeah.
I was very,
Yeah,
very
me
pleased
too. No.
to see that.
Yeah.
I hate
But-
I hate that location.
I mean, it's
How
it's the
many
most efficient.
games where I have I've got a 5-cost card to play down and I'm like, well, not today.
Now that they have decreased the frequency of the stone locations, I think Dream Dimension's drawing some ire. Or
Yeah.
Dream Dimension's drawing the ire. The 5
But
cost
hey,
increase.
Michael, I have some wonderful news for you. as someone who also agrees with you and cannot stand Dream Dimension, there was one card that I always hated having in my hand when Dream Dimension popped up, and that was our beloved Spider-Man as a 5/4 over the last month or so. Now, you don't have to worry about that anymore. He's a 3/5, and that's not all. It'd be insane if he was a 3/5 and kept the same ability.
Yeah.
So let's move on from that. His on reveal has changed. This is a complete rework. Now he says, on reveal, move to another location and pull an enemy card from here to there. So kind of a mishmash of Stegron and Polaris? Is this the next best, just straight up throw it into any deck you can, like a Polaris 3/5? Or is it a bit too random?
Michael, what's your take?
Well, when I first saw this, I saw the 3/5, and my jaw was here, because I just stopped reading for a second, and then I was like, oh, okay, different ability, right? The words are different. Let me catch up here and see what's going on. I mean, it's a great stat line. I think for what it's doing, like you say, Polaris, right? It's Polaris. It's moving a card. It's very similar, but it's taking a card from where you are to a random location. So, I mean, we've seen Silk have some great versatility, being a 2/5 that kind of bounces around the board, and you don't have that control necessarily. Silk's obviously a different card, and it can bounce from multiple times, but I think Spider-Man has a good spot and just like a good cards like line, because it's only going to move once, and it's going to go to one of two locations, and often that's not going to be a bad thing, especially on turn 3, right? Because you still have half the game to kind of figure where you're playing out, right?
Yes, true. If you're playing it on curve, I think that Surfer is interested at another 3/5, but I don't know. I find it hilarious that the devs call out that part of the reason for the change is that they were getting a lot of feedback that players are frustrated playing against Spider-Man, and as such a universally popular character, they didn't want that to be like such a negative experience. It's really fun to play Spider-Man. It's not so fun to play against Spider-Man. Now I think they're making it not so fun to play Spider-Man, but actually kind of hilarious to play against Spider-Man and be like, oh, you pulled the junkie card and now you're gummed up. Like, I don't know. If I'm running Surfer, I feel like Polaris and Juggernaut both recommend themselves just as much, if not better, than the new Spider-Man. I don't like the chaos of not knowing where he's going to hop. If it was controlled, like if he was guaranteed to go the left, like all the other move cards, I might actually like it a lot better.
Interesting, yeah.
I don't know. I think it's not going to be as insane and potentially as frustrating as Silk, where Silk has a really weird learning curve of like picking your lanes and making sure that you can like let's say for like you play Jeff and then like another move type of card, and you make sure that middle lane is clogged, and you force your Silk to go one way or the other, and then the last turn then you move your stuff to kind of open up that way. But Spider-Man is a bit more just, it's a one and done, and I think more often than not you're kind of okay with it just moving, because the 3/5 is going to be pretty decent on its own right. It's hard to say. Like, I can't even give a proper evaluation of this type of effect, because I'm trying to think of like where you even play it. Like, do you play it as your type of Juggernaut thing behind a storm? Not really, because then Spider-Man leaves that storm location, and that seems kind of bad. You don't want to use him to get into a locked location more often than not, because things like Sanctum Sanctorum, yes, he can get to, but he's bringing someone with him. So is he going to stand toe-to-toe? Maybe in certain matchups like the Thanos meta we have currently, that could be interesting, where you just take a Mind Stone or something like that, zip him over to Sanctum, and you're like, cool, peace out, I win. That's going to happen. But then the same thing could happen with Silk, right?
Yeah.
Or once she lands there, she's there.
Will this work with unrevealed cards? I would assume.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
My assumption is no.
So not like Juggernaut, because Juggernaut.
Because it's calling out cards, and I think cards have to be revealed when other effects have this kind of text. Like Juggernaut will specifically call out cards that are played this turn. Unrevealed cards are played cards, but they're not cards.
But Stegron's wording is similar to this, where it hits unrevealed cards.
It does?
Stegron hits unrevealed cards, yeah.
Maybe he can. I feel like, do you run this alongside Silk to kind of compound junk a lane. You watch the results of Spider-Man, and then you double down with the Polaris in the mid game. You're looking at a lot of really tiny cards.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe this could okay. You mentioned junk,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of intrigued by the idea of a Spider-Man Silk Polaris junk deck.
Yep.
Just you can kind
Pull a
of
bunch of
definitively
rocks
choose
over to one lane.
what you're giving to your opponent with like you Viper over a rock or like a what's it called,
Goblin.
Hood, goblins and stuff. So you basically increase the odds of Spider-Man grabbing something bad for your opponent to where you can shift over pretty easily with it and guarantee that one location. So I don't know. That's a very interesting idea. I don't know how good it is. That's the thing. I don't know how good Spider-Man's going to be because
it sounds worth trying for sure, but will it stick?
Yeah, I think he has a stat line that is pushing, like, Surfer decks will try to adopt it, but where's it going to be able to go with the impact of the ability?
I don't think you play him in Surfer decks because Surfer decks are getting to this point where they're reaching this plateau of the deck is so hard to figure out like what the best cards are. I think Daken is going to be tested pretty extensively in Surfer decks, which we'll touch on your side of the channel, Teddy. But yeah, I don't know, man. The Spider-Man change is really cool, but I just don't know where it sees play because you could at least. Here's the thing. Spider-Man as the 5/4 we were discovering was just good enough to be a blanket card to go in any deck really at any point.
Yeah.
It's just that effect is good enough.
I was running it in Surfer instead of Sarah.
Yeah,
and I was happy.
exactly.
I don't know if I do that now.
Yeah. Maybe, I mean, look, maybe the stats for it is enough to just be like, we're good. But
I mean, that's really what it was for Polaris, is the stats were just good enough, and you had those couple fringe, like, location interactions that you could abuse and pick up the dubs, so we'll see. Man. I don't know.
all right, well,
here's the thing. I know anytime they release a 3-cost card, there's a hive mind, a legion within Snap that is like, and now you play in Surfer. Are we saying don't try it in Surfer?
I mean, give it a try. I just don't know if
I don't think it's gonna stick personally.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's such a good. The Spider-Man's not gonna stick. He's not. Gonna stick.
I've said that twice now, and I haven't meant it either time as like a pun, but here we are. So
What's the? I'm gonna hats off to the animation team if they get us a new animation for the release of this card, because Spider-Man was already one of the prettiest cards in terms of animation.
Yeah.
Besides Big Bad.
Like
right?
maybe like shooting a web across and like pulling it with
something like Spider-Man 2099, but then dragging him along.
That'd be pretty cool.
I mean,
good.
the biggest
Cross
thing
your
about
fingers.
this change that I guess we can end on before we move over to your half of it, Teddy, is that I'm just happy that all the Spider people, for the most part, are going to be like congruent with one another of like what they do as far as their effects go. The only outliers at this point now are going to be Spider-Ham and then Spider-Woman. Which Spider-Woman's the weirdest one here, where I wouldn't mind them doing the thing of switching around some abilities or something and giving Spider-Woman something else at some point. I'm cool with that. She's also just very underplayed and underutilized, even as a 5/8, which is we've kind of established as being the best of 5 cost can be, getting right underneath Shang-Chi.
Well, and if she gets the 4 cards, right, that's a 5/12.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And she still doesn't see play because that effect isn't impactful enough in the eyes of most players, at least competitively leaning. But maybe she's just the card that's good enough to be played that people are kind of dusting over to the side.
Oh, gotcha. So instead of playing Spider-Man, you should now play Spider-Woman. Brad is promising you guys. Get it twisted. This is the next go-to.
Try it.
You heard it here.
Sure.
You heard it here first.
If you don't own Legion, you can get extra power here. If the opponent plays Legion, you beat them with this, unless they really get you on the locations.
All right, so next up, we're going to be talking about the new cards that we're looking ahead into the next season that is big in Japan. One thing that I'm very excited for, there's a lot of cards to talk about, a lot of interesting discussions to be had, so stay tuned. We'll see you right over there.
Can't Stop Snapping is a podcast hosted and produced by Brad Saffer and Teddy Ninja, originally created by Michael Thurman.